I really hate making videos like this, and I'll tell you why. Because you see videos like this all the time on YouTube. The 10 benefits of quitting alcohol, the 10 benefits of quitting smoking, the 7 benefits of quitting weed. The problem with these videos is the benefits that I experienced in quitting cannabis might dramatically differ from the benefits that you stand to experience as you decide to stop consuming the drug. The bigger issue is videos just like this one can inadvertently set up a series of false expectations. And if your expectations in quitting a substance don't eventually match your reality, the decision to return to consuming that substance again might be inevitable. But of the hundreds of people that I have helped quit cannabis, these are 7 benefits that you've probably never heard of before that I've seen a majority of people experience across the board. Speaking of, if you are a high-level professional, we have a science-backed method that has a 98% success rate in helping people quit cannabis and nicotine privately without disrupting their public image or public life, and without relapse. So you can check out the link for that in the video description. Benefit number 1 of quitting cannabis is going to be increased assertiveness. When I see people quit cannabis, they often mistake assertiveness as anger or irritability, and they think it's a bad thing. And more often than not, this is actually a really good thing, because when you're assertive, it creates change. When you're passive, you stay stuck in the same loop, the same life cycle over and over and over again. And I don't think anyone would deny that cannabis is an extremely passive drug. I'm going to explain assertiveness by telling you 2 client stories that I came across recently inside our one-on-one coaching program of people that I'm working with. I was talking to a gentleman. He's a high-level project manager, and he travels a lot for work. He'll travel a week at a time, and then he'll be home for a week at a time. He'll travel, he'll be home. And he was telling me, hey, since I've quit cannabis and nicotine, I find that I've been a little more irritable. And I said to him, well, tell me about this irritability you've been experiencing. And he said, when I come home and visit my family, I want to be connected with them. And what I find is when I come home, everyone is on their cell phones because we all, myself included, have cell phone addictions. And he said, I really found myself frustrated trying to communicate to them that I just wanted to spend some quality family time without using our phones. And I said to him, look, I don't think that's irrational irritability. I don't think that's irrational anger. In fact, I think that's actually a really healthy recommendation for you and your family. And it sounds to me like you're simply being a little more assertive when it comes to your opinion of what you want quality family time to look like. And this individual is like, yeah, I didn't think of it that way. And then I went a step further and I said, look, this isn't about anger issues or irritability issues, but you actually have a really cool opportunity right now to learn how to properly communicate to your family that you want to spend more quality time with them during a moment when everyone isn't distracted by their cell phones. So I said, you don't have an anger issue or an irritability issue. You're just voicing your opinion about something that matters to you. But what we might have is a communication issue. So let's work on that. I had another client that I was working with. They work in the real estate development side of things, and they have 3 young kids, and they have their young kids enrolled in soccer practice. And they said to me, look, since I quit drinking alcohol, and they've also cut back pretty significantly on cannabis, they said, I found myself getting really angry with their soccer coach. And at first I thought, oh yeah, this is probably irrational anger related to quitting substances. But I asked them, explain that anger to me. The individual said to me, the soccer coach, and they have really young kids, is constantly cursing and cussing. And I don't feel that it's appropriate language for young children. And I said, oh, wait a minute. That's actually really appropriate for you to be angry about that. And they said, yeah, for the first time in like months or years that their kids have been in soccer with this coach, they said, yeah, I was very vocal about my opinion when it came to them cussing around my kids. And I said, well, look, again, I don't think that's anger. I don't think that's irrational irritability. I think that's you being assertive because you don't want your young children exposed to foul language at that age. I said, this is actually a really good thing. Now, same deal. I said maybe how you communicated to the coach could be improved upon, but this assertiveness is good and it's going to result in change. I can guarantee you that coach isn't going to be cursing anymore around their kids. And I can guarantee you we're going to figure out a way to help this individual enjoy his family time without the constant use of cell phones once we lock in on proper communication of these things. Cannabis is a passive drug. It made me very passive in my relationships. It made me very passive in my business. And once I quit consuming cannabis and became more assertive, it dramatically changed multiple aspects of my life. But don't fall into the trap of thinking that your rightful level of assertiveness is a bad thing just because someone's telling you you're more irritable or you're more angry lately, because chances are that's not actually is what is happening. Benefit number 2 of quitting cannabis is an increased awareness, especially when it came to my mind and my body. And this is completely crazy to say because I was under the delusion, I was under the perceived benefit of consuming cannabis to actually get more in touch with my mental and my physical. And I couldn't have been more wrong. And I didn't realize that until I quit. Now, here's the thing. When I say an increased awareness, when you stop consuming cannabis, it allows you to take a step back and look at the other lifestyle factors that are influencing you as to why you feel the way that you feel. Once we remove alcohol, weed, nicotine, stimulants, adult media content, things are a lot less blurry. And it becomes really easy to start to identify lifestyle factors that can be modified to help us improve how we feel on a day-to-day basis. But when you have all these different drugs involved, it's really hard to figure out what's causing you to feel the way you feel. Now, there's another benefit to having an increased level of self-awareness. It allows you to figure out what your baseline level of performance is. Because if you're artificially inflating your performance, and I see this all the time with the high performance business people that we work with and stuff like that, they'll pound cannabis, they'll pound stimulants, they'll pound alcohol to push through that next level, to push through the stress, to push through all the things they're dealing with at work. And what they're actually doing is they're pushing themselves beyond their baseline capabilities. And at the same time, they're not doing anything beneficial to actually build up their baseline tolerance to perform at a high level. And this eventually ends in disaster. It can be detrimental. This can cost a person their relationship. It can cost the person their business. It's a horrible thing to see happen. And I was on the verge of that happening to me throughout my years of abusing cannabis, stimulants, nicotine. But once you remove the drugs, once you figure out what your baseline level is, we can start to work at other lifestyle factors that need modification to appropriately build up that baseline so you can take on the demands of life that you need to. Once you begin to understand why you feel the way you feel, it makes it very easy to come up with a plan to modify that. And this is one of the biggest benefits of quitting cannabis. Increased awareness, both mentally and physically. Benefit number 3, an improved sense of time. When I was consuming cannabis, I did not value my time. And if you don't value your time, time is not going to value you. As I said earlier, cannabis is an extremely passive substance. It makes us say, well, I'll act on that tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. I'll quit another day. I'll quit at the new year. I'll quit after this. It makes you disregard time. And if you don't value time, time isn't going to value you. When you're consuming cannabis, or at least when I had no sense of urgency. And because I had no sense of urgency, it was almost impossible for me to build positive momentum among various different aspects of my life, in my career, in my relationships, in my physical health. It wasn't until I quit consuming cannabis that I started to take time, the one thing in life you can't get back, a heck of a lot more seriously. And once I started to reclaim that sense of urgency, I started to take action and things started to get accomplished quickly. Cannabis is a passive drug. It's a drug of procrastination. And for many people, this procrastination is destroying their physical health, their mental health, their finances, their relationships, their career. I could go on and on and on because I've seen it time and time again. When you quit cannabis, you start to have gratitude and appreciation for time and how you spend your time. And when you value how you spend your time, it's much easier to start building positive momentum across different aspects of your life. Benefit number 4 of quitting cannabis is my stress tolerance significantly increased. My ability to handle stress in my business, in my family, in my personal life, in my professional life significantly increased after quitting cannabis. And again, this was one of those reasons that I smoked cannabis. I thought it was helping me with the stress. I thought it was helping me cope with things. And that couldn't have been further from the truth. Once you remove the substance use disorder, once you're not spending all that mental effort on should I quit? Should I smoke? When am I going to smoke? Who am I going to smoke with? Am I going to hide it? Am I not going to hide it? Am I going to feel shame? Am I going to feel regret afterwards? Once you eliminate all that stress, all of the stress that comes with substance use, you free up so much mental real estate in your mind to handle other areas of life that are stressful. Raising children, running a business, performing in your career, going to the gym, a very physical form of stress on your body. Your stress tolerance actually goes up. And this is one of the biggest benefits of quitting cannabis. It's not so much that you have less stress in your life, but it's that your tolerance for stress dramatically increases. And when your stress tolerance goes up, it can dramatically change your relationships, your business, your finances. I could go on and on and on. Not to mention, quitting cannabis often also results in improved sleep, improved physical health, improved mental health. When each of those things are firing on all cylinders, your stress tolerance goes way up. I know if I'm not working out, I know if I'm not regulating my sleep, I know if I'm eating poorly, my stress tolerance for other things in life just goes down because my baseline level of performance has decreased. So my ability to handle stress overall has decreased. But when I quit cannabis, naturally my physical health improved, my mental health improved, my sleep improved dramatically, right? I started to get REM sleep again, dream sleep, where your brain makes sense of the day, where your brain starts to employ executive decision making. And when that occurred, my stress tolerance skyrocketed. I don't think anyone would deny that when you're sleeping better, eating better, and feeling better, you are much better at managing day-to-day stress. Benefit number 5 of quitting cannabis, improved creative execution. I always thought that cannabis was helping me be more creative. This was another one of those perceived benefits or delusions that I was under while I was consuming cannabis. And maybe to an extent, it did help with the creativity, but the problem was I lacked taking action. What is a creative thought worth if you never bring that thought to life? If you never bring that creativity to life, what is it worth? In most instances, it's not worth anything at all. I remember I was working with a really high-level app developer who had what turned out to be a multi-million-dollar app idea. And when we were working together, when they signed up with us, I said, look, what's your motive for wanting to quit using cannabis? And they said, well, I have this really brilliant app, but there's a lot of back end things that we still have to fix and sort out. And it would seem every time I consume cannabis, I become really demotivated to doing those things. I don't want to fix the bugs. I don't want to hash out things with my team. I don't want to get on the calls. And I said, okay, so cannabis is stopping the action step. Cannabis is stopping the implementation step. Once we identified this and once we successfully helped them quit cannabis, they did eventually roll out the app. And it did turn out to be a multi-million-dollar app idea in the case of this individual, which was fantastic for them. But I hear this time and time again, especially among people who are creative, influencers, musicians, artists. They have all these brilliant ideas. They are brilliantly minded individuals. But if cannabis is leading to procrastination, if cannabis is resulting in inaction, those brilliant ideas never come to life and they become worthless. I would rather see someone take 1,000 shots at bat and fail 999 times just to hit that ball on the 1,000th time than to never step up to bat in the first place. And this is a common problem that I see with cannabis time and time again. Imagine what taking action on a consistent basis, even if it resulted in failure and a lesson learned, would change in your business, in your professional life. Speaking of, if you're a high performance individual, you're an executive, you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, or a high level professional, we have a science backed method that has a 98% client success rate at helping people quit nicotine and cannabis in as little as 48 hours, privately, without group meetings, without having to admit you're a powerless addict, without disrupting your life or public image. You can learn more about that with the link in the video description below. Benefit number 6, and maybe one of the most amazing benefits of quitting cannabis, is rediscovering life's natural highs. This is the stage where a person starts to experience that dopamine reset. And I want to emphasize something. This typically takes a little bit of time. I want you to think about this. There was a point in my life where I was consuming cannabis, watching porn, drinking alcohol, chewing tobacco, and hitting my vape, all in one sitting, all in one evening. You have to understand how high my threshold was to get that hit of dopamine. So, of course, going for a walk, reading a book, even interacting with my significant other became boring. Life just seemed completely uneventful. Even those business wins didn't mean anything to me. It's because my tolerance for that dopamine threshold was set so high. I needed pornography, alcohol, cannabis, and stimulants to even get my juices flowing. Upon quitting cannabis and walking away from other substances, simple things in life started to bring me joy again. And anhedonia, a loss of joy in life, is a very common side effect among people who abuse cannabis. You no longer have permission to enjoy anything unless it's accompanied by that substance. One of the most beautiful things about quitting cannabis and all the other stuff that I was addicted to was I finally was able to give myself permission to enjoy the things in life that I actually wanted to enjoy. The simple things, listening to music, getting a business win, spending time with family or a significant other, going out to a nice dinner, simple stuff, taking a shower and looking fresh, suddenly started to bring me joy again. And that is one of the biggest benefits of quitting cannabis that I have seen almost everyone experience over the years of helping people with cannabis substance use disorders. Benefit number 7 of quitting cannabis is improved confidence. The version of you that says you're going to do something actually starts to see that something through. This is what we call commitment. If you want to improve confidence, you have to improve it by making small commitments to yourself on a day-to-day basis and actually seeing those commitments through. Once we make the decision to stop consuming cannabis and we remain committed to that decision, we destroy the cognitive dissonance that's often created for people when it comes to cannabis consumption. I work with a lot of high-level professionals, and a lot of them, they're into physical fitness, they're into nutrition, they're into their family life, they're into their career, but something doesn't fit. And that something is cannabis consumption. It's working against everything that they're trying to build and everything that they have built and that they're looking to achieve in the future. And this creates significant cognitive dissonance. And that cognitive dissonance can create decision-making fatigue, and it can start to slowly erode at multiple aspects of our life. But when you remain committed to something, when you boost your confidence, when you become the person that says, I'm going to do something, and you actually see that something through, you stand to change the trajectory of not only your life, but also the other people in your life that matter to you the most. This could be your wife, this could be your kids, this could be your family, this could be your employees, this could be your coworkers. Increased confidence, benefit number 7 of quitting cannabis, is a major benefit that I've seen across the board. And it's a benefit that you can start to apply to multiple other aspects of one's life. Now, if you're watching this video, you might be thinking to yourself, that sounds great, Dr. Frank. I want to experience all those benefits, but I'm really concerned about the withdrawal symptoms. If I quit cannabis, aren't I going to experience withdrawal? Isn't that going to lead to, a disruption of momentum and a disruption of, increased confidence? And isn't that going to screw up my body awareness and mental awareness? Yes, but only if you don't know what it is you're up against or what it is you're trying to manage. So you can follow me right into the next video where I set some proper expectations for you when it comes to cannabis withdrawal and how to manage some common, not things that we see all the time, but common cannabis withdrawal symptoms. I'll see you in that next video.